Welcome to Club Nurse. I'm Colton Lord, your host. By you being here today, it shows me that you are someone who wants to learn, grow, laugh, connect, and just let your emotions flow. We are here to share real stories and hear real life experiences from real people. You are not alone in this, and Club Nurse is here to show you that. Don't forget to follow the show and share today's episode with someone you love. Now, let's dive into today's conversation. You had mentioned you're sober. That is something that I wanted to touch on and talk with you about, because again, I think it's something that a lot of people, and especially nurses, I think struggle with silently. It's very shameful. People feel a lot of shame around it. So yeah, take me through your sobriety. What was it that you decided you needed to be sober? How has that journey gone for you? Yeah, just talk about it.
Yeah, it's one of my greatest gifts, truly. One of my greatest gifts is being sober. I've been sober for 9 years, and I was definitely nursing and not sober. I never, thankfully, I mean, never say never, but thankfully, I never got to a place where I was, drinking on the job or stealing drugs or doing anything like that, which can happen. So if that is you, like no shade. I feel like that's a common thing in addiction and alcoholism. But really, for a long time, it was really hard for me to say I was an alcoholic because I thought I knew other alcoholics, and other alcoholics that I knew were in and out of jail, were getting fired from jobs because they were showing up drunk or something,
Yeah.
right? Or got
Yeah.
DUIs or all the things. And none of that stuff happened to me. None of that stuff. When I was an ICU nurse, I never even showed up. Listen to me. I'm like, I never even showed up hungover. Like, how wonderful am I? But only because I was so damn scared. I was like,
I
there's no
have.
fucking
Okay.
way. I know. I probably have too. I probably have. But I don't remember. It was different as a hospice nurse. I remember getting my hospice job. I was still drinking. I remember thinking literally, I can show up hungover. I remember thinking I'm not going to have to worry if I'm super hungover because no one's going to be around. No one knows. I'm going in people's homes. They don't know.
It's not
Maybe, I
like
don't know.
critical situations, really,
Yeah, it
right?
wasn't a
Yeah.
critical
Yeah.
situation, right? Anyway, so for a long time, it was just hard for me to really reconcile that I really had a drinking problem. I kind of knew deep down because of how I drank and how I thought about it, but I was keeping it together. So it's like, who cares, And the older I got, I ended up quitting around 33. But the older I got, the harder it was for me to justify how much I was really drinking and and how when I drank, something switched in my brain where it was really hard to just have a couple. I could, but who would want to do that?
Yeah.
That's where my
What's
brain
the
was. I
point?
was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what's the
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
So I started, drinking. I would be drinking alone in my house, just a couple glasses of wine, but next thing you know, it'd be like a bottle and a half or
Mhm.
sometimes two. And then I'd wake up in the morning, have to go to work and be super hungover. And I threw up at patients' houses before. And I just started getting grosser and grosser
Yeah.
to me
Yeah.
and more like a private thing versus a party girl thing. It just got gross, I thought.
Yeah.
So I eventually did quit on my own where I was just sort of okay, I'm going to take a break. Cause for many years I used to do that. I'd be like, I'm not drinking for 30 days. And then I could do it. And I'd be
Yeah.
like, look at me. I didn't
Yeah.
drink for 30 days.
Yeah.
I'm not an alcoholic.
Yeah. Until that
Um,
31st day, you're like, just
yeah,
like
you're like, hell
waiting for.
yeah.
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 Yeah. And, I remember once saying to my sister, this is just a side note. I remember when I was still drinking, and she doesn't really drink that much, but it was a random Sunday, and I was drinking my face off because it was a Sunday fun day. And I remember I had to eventually stop drinking because I had to go to work the next day, and I didn't want to be but I was already super drunk. But I remember I remember saying to her very sincerely, drinking is not my problem. The fact that I have to stop drinking is my problem. If I could just drink all the time, never have to worry about stopping, I'd be good. And that was that's what I mean by the mindset around it. Is I really felt like that. I really was like, that's what anyway, doesn't everyone think that way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, the reason why I'm telling you this long thing is because I think people really don't understand alcoholism, and that's how I was. So I like to talk about the whole
Yeah. Like the way you're
gamut.
thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I finally did stop this last time, I didn't get help. I didn't say I was an alcoholic. I just basically white knuckled it. I gotta make my life better. I can't be hungover for work. I'm gonna not do this. And long story short, I did that for 11 months, which was crazy. I mean, that's almost a year. But in that 11 months is when I really, really hit rock bottom, is when I really, really saw the nature of what was going on with me, which was alcoholism. And I didn't really know it at the time, but like my life got so much smaller. Like I didn't know how to like go out and do things and be social without alcohol. I didn't know how to like live my life kind of without it.
Right.
And in order to do that, because I wasn't going to drink, I had to make my life really small. Go to work, come home, not really go out, stay inside.
Yeah.
Dinner wasn't fun because like we weren't drinking at dinner. I couldn't like, it was like a bunch of everything I did. It was like, ugh. So I just didn't
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
And my life got really, really small and really, really sad. And I was more depressed than I ever could have imagined. I was probably closest to suicide than I ever could have imagined. I remember thinking, I'm not going to commit suicide, but if I think this is how people feel who do commit suicide. Like,
I think I've maybe had those things. It's like the way I would kind of think about it is like maybe going back to like the plane analogy, like maybe sitting on a plane and just thinking like, huh, wouldn't be mad if this went down. Like those
yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah,
passive
yeah,
thoughts.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like if I just never woke up, like, okay,
Yeah.
you
That's
know,
fine. Yeah.
and yeah, I eventually told someone, which is a whole nother fun story that I won't tell, but like it was a girl in a grocery store who we kind of knew each other and we ended up like meeting in the grocery store, then going for a hike. And I was like explaining to her what was happening to me. And I was really, really scared because I really thought like this was going to be the answer. Like quitting drinking was going to fix everything.
Yeah.
And then it fixed nothing.
Yeah.
And if anything, in fact, I was
Made it
worse.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, I guess I'm going to drink again because, like, what's the point? That's
Right.
not the answer. That didn't fix it. And I was telling this to this girl, and she was like, "Girl, you sound like an alcoholic."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What?"
Couldn't be me.
I know. First off, like, who are you? I barely know you. That's what
Yeah.
I was thinking. I was like, I
Yeah.
barely know this chick.
Yeah.
Alcoholic, like, F off.
Right.
And she goes, no, 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 no. My mom's an alcoholic. My mom's an alcoholic. She's been sober for years. She goes to AA. You sound just like her. Like, and she still goes to AA and she's been sober for 30 years. She's like, AA is amazing, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't need to go to AA. First off,
Yeah.
what's so funny is I have like, my family's like riddled with alcoholism. Now, no one's gotten sober,
Same.
but
Yeah.
so many members of my family are alcoholics. So I thought I knew what an alcoholic was, but what's so funny is I never ever learned anything about AA. All I knew was like all the ideas I had about AA, like
Yeah.
only old white men go there.
Yeah.
So anyway, because of that, and I was so desperate, she was like, just go there to make friends. Like you just need people who are sober too, blah, 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 blah. So she took me to my first meeting and like nothing happened. And I just sat in the corner and didn't say anything and whatever. I was just scared. But then that opened the door to me being willing to go to my second meeting by myself the next day. I found a meeting like right down the street from me and I went.
So you're going
And
daily at this point, or?
well, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just
Okay.
sort of like desperate.
Yeah.
And I went to that first one and then it was kind of got me to be like, I guess I'll go to another one. And it was like the next day because every day I was kind of miserable. So I was kind of
Yeah.
like, I don't know,
Like,
I'll
why
try
not?
this.
Yeah.
And that meeting is where I like raised my hand and like cried and was like, I don't know what's happening with me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not an alcoholic, of course. Like, I'm not an alcoholic. But like, I don't really need this, but like
Yeah.
something's wrong. I think just because of that action, it was like the willingness of like trying to get help because then everyone there is like, girl, we got you. Right. Like, here, meet us here, do this, do this, do this. And then I just started getting into it. I just started getting into technically the 12-step program. I'm not supposed to say AA because it's supposed to be anonymous. So you're not
Yeah.
really supposed to talk about it on Preston
Yeah.
Radio, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Everyone
Gotcha.
gets it. The reason why I love that 12-step program so much is because it changed everything. Like I was willing to do the work people in this place were telling me to do because I was so desperate. And I wouldn't have kept doing it, but it worked. It started helping. It started giving me that relief. It started helping me learn how to live again. It started helping me see what I was dealing with and like treat my alcoholism, which is more than just drinking. It's
Yeah.
about thinking,
That's
my mind,
so much deeper than that. The
Yeah.
alcohol is in our minds, the
the
solution.
medicine.
Yeah.
Yes, the
My
solution.
my question for this is if somebody, and maybe I don't know if you ever thought about this, but if somebody had come to you when you were deep into your partying and drinking, if somebody had come to you, I don't know, maybe they did, but if they had and said, Julie, I think maybe, there's a problem here. Like, would you have been like, whatever, like brush them off? Would you have taken into consideration? Or do you think it just had to be a point where you were just ready to do it? Like you had to be ready in order to take that step?
I had to be ready for sure. If anyone of people have definitely come up to me, not many though, because I really surrounded myself with people who were doing what I was doing. So
Partying,
we
yeah.
all seemed
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, I would never have stopped before I wanted to. Like,
Yeah.
because I just didn't see the problem. I just didn't
Yeah.
see it being a problem. This was my life. Like, and if you weren't on board with it, you were boring. I remember being on a dating site once when I was still drinking, and it was supposed to be like, say what you like to do. And I was like laughing and I was okay with this, but I was like, how can I say like I just go out on the weekends and party? Like that's what
Yeah.
I do. Like I don't
Yeah.
have hobbies. And I thought that was and that is okay for some people, right? Like
Yeah.
that's not nothing's wrong with that. I just knew that eventually for me it was too much and I couldn't really stop. It transitioned to like I'm not really going out on the weekends. I'm like drinking wine alone in my house, you know.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think too, I used to think, oh, well, if I just went to therapy and got on medication and like fixed things, then I would drink normal or like it wouldn't matter how much I drank. But that there's like for me that it's a disease. There's different parts of the disease. Some of the parts are emotional, but there is a physical component where I have always known, even since ever since I took my first drink, really, that when I drink, something switches in my
Mhm.
brain. And
Mhm.
it really my main focus after that first drink is get more drinks.
Yeah.
It's not about the dinner, it's not about the conversation,
Right.
it's not about the
Like
friends,
you're
it's
so
about
focused on that.
drinking.
Yeah.
And a great example of that is I remember I followed Lollapalooza around in my early 20s when I was, like, really partying. We,
Yeah.
were really partying, right? Like, alcohol, drugs, all the things, right? And that's all I did. I wasn't a nurse yet, but I remember I loved the Red Hot Chili Peppers. They were my favorite band, and they were finally on, and my favorite song came on that I had been dying to see them play live. Like, that's all I've been talking about, but I was in the beer line, and I didn't leave.
But you heard it and you still just stayed.
I heard it from, like, far away because it was one of those venues where, like, it's like you're inside and then, like, all the other stuff,
Yeah.
like the beer and
Yeah.
everything's, like so you could hear it, but you're not, like, there, right?
Yeah.
And I
But
did
that was
not
more
leave.
important.
It was
Yeah.
more important
Yeah.
to and, like, it didn't even feel weird to me. It was like, "Oh, well." But
Yeah.
looking back, it's like, "Oh
Like
my
I missed the
god,
moment. Yeah.
I missed
Yeah.
the moment
Yeah.
because I was so preoccupied with making sure I had enough beer."
Yeah. I think that that's where because like I said, I mean, this addiction and alcoholism runs so deep in my family on both sides. And so like, I know that I'm like genetically definitely to that.
Predisposed, yeah.
Yes. Thank you. And I think, when I reflect on my life up to this point, I think I've definitely had periods of time where it was a problem, but they were, like you're saying, it was so easy to, like, it was almost like camouflage because everybody else around me was doing it, where, be it college or whatever time in my life. I mean, when I was in college, I literally had like 2 seizures from drinking so much. But like,
Yeah.
and it was a joke to everybody,
It
like,
was a joke.
oh
Oh,
yeah.
yes. Yeah, it's
And
funny.
like even my college friends to this day will still joke with me about it, and I'm like, yeah, it's funny, but like not really.
I
Like
know.
the fact that I was like drinking to the point of like, because it was like I was known to be the one to just like party so hard and just like make a fool of myself, so it was like funny to everybody. But I think just you sharing those kinds of things too is so helpful for people, because especially in addiction and any kind of addiction, like you feel like there's something wrong with you once you've gotten to a point of that it's happening. Not, I think a lot of people are in a stage of denial about it, which it sounds
Yeah.
like you were kind of at that place for a long time too. But once you get to that place of recognizing this is an issue, like it's a shame spiral. So then you're so ashamed of how you're acting, what you're doing, that then you just keep going back to that thing, and it's just like it's so hard to get out of. And I think it's so it's interesting to just to kind of see, because like you were saying, nobody in my family has gone through that recovery process, like, and so I don't even fully understand like how all that works. So just like hearing you kind of talk about it and how you've gotten to where you are now, I think it's important to hear. And how is now, like when you go out then, like with friends, like can you go out with friends who are having like cocktails and you're just like whatever, like, or do you just not expose yourself to that?
Just full transparency, most people in LA now that I go out to have drinks with, we're all sober. So like no one's
Mm.
really drinking.
Yeah.
But what I mostly notice when I do go out now is how much normal people do drink. Like with my sister and her friends, if we all go out, now granted, I'm 42, so we're not like going out like I used to, right? But
Yeah.
even if we're going to dinner or something, or we go to the bar for drinks, I notice how regular people drink. Like I thought everyone was drinking like me. until I wasn't drinking and seeing how people were drinking and see now, like, oh, they really do like nurse a couple drinks,
And then they're good. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just like, I never did that. Back home, like my very best friends who live in Baltimore, like who drank like me for years, God love them. They are literally my very, very best girlfriends. I love them. They're moms and like they're living their best life, right? And I can still go out with them. And again, like their drinking has shifted. Like they don't drink like we used to. And I know if it was like us three all drinking together, still, I would be the one being like, "Let's go,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
let's get shots, come on, martinis, blah, blah, blah,"
That
and
was
they
you.
might
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
along with it, but, like, I was kind of the one, like, "Let's get this going," but I am uncomfortable. I would be uncomfortable. I still could do it. It wouldn't be like I wouldn't, but, like, if everyone was around me heavily, heavily drinking like I
Yeah.
used to, I
Yeah.
would not. I would hang for, like, an hour or 2,
Yeah.
and then I'd be like, "Later."
Because at that point it's like, why nobody's really actually here with me anyway. Like
No, no one's really actually here.
nobody will know if I exit stage left. Like nobody will know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but like the other day, I think all of us in the 12-step program, like I have a bunch of friends, right? We're all going to get like super dressed and go to a rave and like that would be really fun to me because we're all going to be together. I love dressing up. I love dancing. Not all the time, but like a rave idea would be like so fun to me,
Yeah.
I think. And if it's
Yeah.
not, I'll leave. But
Yeah.
like never in my million effing years, Colton, would I ever think I could like get dressed up and have fun at a rave
Without being like drunk.
without
Yeah.
first off being on drugs.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
I'll,
Yeah.
like that's more of like a rave thing. But like
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
in a million years would I ever think I could do that. And
Yeah.
it brings me so much joy to know that I can and to know truly how much better it is to be fully present.
Like the things that you actually remember because you're actually there.
Yeah.
And then you
And
wake
like
up the
to
next
be
day and you don't
fully
feel like
present
death.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not trying to like I think I was using a lot to like have it be better. Like I always thought it was going to be better. And I've just learned that like it really is not the case and like it's just a really really beautiful life to like fully show up. It
Yeah.
can be hard though too. It's like
Sure.
painful as well because you
Yeah.
feel all the things. But
Yeah. You can't just go grab that bottle of wine or something to not deal with the feelings.
yeah, to not deal
Um,
with it.
Yeah, yeah, but it's just definitely a much more effective way if you can get yourself and learn those skills to cope and to actually get through things versus just turning to. It's just that I like say like I understand why people are alcoholics and such because I understand that is so much easier and I understand like when you're in that much pain and all you want is the noise to stop. Like I totally understand why people do that. Like hello, who doesn't want to just like get
Exactly.
rid of everything that's going on in our brains?
That's why to me, again, I truly want anyone who is like sober curious, I want them to get sober however they want to. But I think that's why I needed a program to do because I needed to treat the noise in my brain. Like earlier in the conversation, we weren't talking about alcoholism, but you said something like waking up, like waking up in the morning, like, oh God, I feel like that is kind of my baseline. Like as an alcoholic, I feel like alcoholism is like a disease of the brain. And I kind of like live in today. And every morning I kind of wake up alcoholic-y,
Yeah,
like restless, irritable, like, and then I do all these things throughout the day to help relieve me of that
yeah,
so I can live a full life.
yeah.
And anyway, I mean, it's just, I could go on and on because it's my greatest gift. I truly believe that like the life I have today, the whole Hospice Nurse Julie thing, the book deal, the other things that are happening in my life is a direct result of me being sober.
From the bottom of my heart, I wanted to thank you for being here at Club Nurse. I hope you gained something valuable from today's episode. And if you did, remember to share this episode with someone that you love. Follow me on socials at Nurse Daddies or Colton Lord 17, and be sure to follow Nurse.org to stay informed with all of the hottest healthcare topics. Until next time, take care of yourself the way you take care of everyone else. Love ya. Bye.